Hey, and welcome to the Ramses Rundown. I am the miasma, Zach Ramses. I'm being joined by my friend Austin here. And here on the Ramses Rundown, we take an opportunity to go inside the mind of the miasma, see what makes me tick a little bit, talk about lots of things in our culture, wrestling, film, music, whatever it may be. Today we're going to talk about a critically underrated television show from Austin and I's youth. And it is the Nickelodeon series Back at the Barnyard. It was a show that was a spin-off of the Nickelodeon movie Barnyard, starring Kevin James. But the network took it and they made their own spin-off show, which, as Austin and I knew when we were kids, but then revisited in the last couple of years and came to realize, was just off the walls, batshit crazy in the best of ways. And we fell in love with the show again. I enjoyed it as a kid, but in our older age now, we've come to realize how great it really is. And so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about our three favorite characters each, and we're going to try to make a cumulative list of our top three off of that, which, going to venture to guess, will probably be pretty similar. But the show really is so underrated because people don't realize how crazy it gets. Because the quick side note on it is that the show was canceled in the middle of the making of season 2, and so when the show was canceled, the writers were like, all right, we're just gonna do whatever we want at this point, because what are they gonna do? We're canceled. Like, we have to fulfill our obligation. We have to make these episodes, but we're gonna do anything we want. And so the end of season 1, they kind of came into their own and kind of being like wildly creative, and then season 2, it just, they go off the deep end and it's miraculous. So Austin, anything you want to say quickly before we get started here?
I mean, you really nailed it best, but just that the series itself is infinitely better than the movie. The movie, I always thought the movie was just a wannabe Lion King.
Yes.
As a kid, and even as an adult, I still feel that way. The series, there is like no other show like it that is just magnificent in absurdity. So let's talk about it.
All right. So my third favorite character for the show is he is in the backdrop often, his comedy is even minimal. But I'm going to choose the farmer who runs the barnyard. He is unofficially known as Farmer Buyer. There's one episode where the buyers are coming to the farm, and all the animals think that people are coming to buy the farm. But meanwhile, it turns out his last name is Buyer, and it was a Buyer family reunion. Just again, stupid things like that. But the farmer is. He's almost, for lack of a better term, he's the Jim Halpert of Barnyard, where he's just kind of the straight man who doesn't really know what's going on, doesn't really get, and most times is blissfully unaware of what's happening. But he's kind of almost at the butt of the joke, because he's just kind of like, what's happening? And then all of a sudden, he'll get knocked out, or get tied to a rocket ship and blown. It's just like absurd shit. But his temperament as a character is what makes it so funny, and so. There's a couple others I was kind of jockeying for the third spot with, but I want to represent Farmer Buyer in here just because he does have so many great moments, and the delivery of his lines sometimes, but he just has these quick, dry kind of cuts that just are fantastic. So, Farmer's my number 3. What do you got?
That was a very good description of the farmer. Very profound. But so my number 3 is going to be Freddy the Ferret.
Great pick.
Just an all-timer as far as supporting cast goes. I mean, in the movie, I felt he was kind of just a one-dimensional. His shtick was that he wanted to just always devour Peck, and I mean that still is like there in the show, but he, like the rest of the cast, is just descends into idiocy as the show progresses. Just is so ridiculous, has great deliveries of lines, great features, just really entertaining in the most absurd way.
Absolutely. And to your point, Austin, due to the nature of him, just like he's supposed to be kind of a little neurotic and crazy, and so that was always kind of his character. He was a little like twitchy and weird, and so again, just like how everyone else got turned up, he became a source of just anything they wanted. They could just make him be even crazier and go in any direction, and it led to brilliant work. So my number 2. I have to imagine our 1 and 2 is probably going to be the same, but my number 2 is going to be Otis. No longer portrayed by Kevin James. They brought in, I want to say it's Chris Hardwick voices him. Again, Otis was supposed to be kind of like the happy-go-lucky leader of the barnyard at first, but that devolves into him just being just like this screaming, insane, leader at some times, and he's like a kid at other times, and his role kind of fluctuates, which on premise sounds like bad writing, but it fluctuates in ways that are consistent with the character, but lend to just so many hysterical episodes. And it usually revolves around his ego. That's one thing that's consistent with his character. That just it's so just ridiculous. And again, you talk about delivery, and the delivery of his screams and his yelps are always hysterical. And ironically enough, it's usually consistently funny because it's usually the same soundbite used over and over, which makes it even funnier because it feels almost like an old school cartoon in that way, where it's just like, you know, you have those reoccurring sounds that just always come. And the devolution of him supposed to be like someone on the rise, like kind of taking leadership and just kind of still being that, but also like half the time the punchline would be like, I'm the leader and that's what I say, and just like it'll just lead to just complete anarchy. It's so well done, and he's the catalyst for most of what happens in the show. And it's, again, it never feels forced, it never feels stupid, it just feels like it feels stupid in the right way. So always is my number 2.
So my number 2 is likely your number 1, so feel free to jump in. My number 2 is Pig. There's not much to say about him other than I think probably his character was the most constant in carrying over from the movie to the show.
Yes, I would agree with that.
That being that he, like other animals and most of the cast that we described, is just belligerently stupid.
Yes.
But is just so entertaining, so absurd in the best way. Certain deliveries of certain lines are just, you know, nothing you could ever think. Yeah, exactly. So, again, he just hits that right kind of stupid that I think everybody can appreciate, and that's, you know, really why he's there for me. He's
like Patrick Star from SpongeBob, except Patrick's almost is stupid to kind of a stupid degree, while Pig ends up being stupid and then it almost comes back around, and then sometimes it's like, oh no, he's actually smart, or like it's so stupid that you're like, I can't believe someone actually wrote this because it's so stupid. Like it's almost paradoxical in ways at times. And so Pig is my number 1, and for all the reasons Austin said, it's so great. But to me, Pig really became my standout when watching season 2, because that they literally kind of let this character go, and like they went in just like completely off the walls directions by design. But then other times they let the voice actor, who I am unfortunately blanking on the name of, he died a few years ago now, but they let this voice actor improv a lot of his work, and so they created a reoccurring segment called Ask Dr. Pig. And basically, it would just, they would literally cut in the middle of an episode, unrelated to anything that's going on, and they would have Pig just wearing a pharmacist jacket, basically, and sometimes he'd have like the, you know, like the old school like light on his head, or whatever you want to call it, reflector, and you know, he would like answer fan mail, or he would like give his scientific prognosis on or diagnosis, however you want to say it, on a certain situation, or whatever. And those situations, every single one apparently was the voice actor literally just giving carte blanche and just being like, go do what you want to do. And he would just improv absurd ideas that would start grounded sometimes and go off the walls, and sometimes it would just be stupid. Again, one of our favorite lines of this whole show was, they were talking about aliens one episode, and you know, he's going through like the things you need to know about aliens, and like he's asking, like, you know, most people think that aliens are really smart because like they travel around the galaxy, but no, it turns out that most aliens are D students. It's just like, what is this? Like it just you go down a rabbit hole in just, it just showed how creative this guy was, and again, the freedom that they were permitted by being canceled yielded fantastic results. So yeah, Pig is my number 1, and I have to presume I know your number 1 then.
Yeah, so my number 1 is Otis. You know, for all the reasons you said, this version of Otis is the best version when you compare voice actor to the character. The fact that the version in the show is a complete departure from Otis from the movie, even though at times, like you said, there's times where he can be the leader, but then also he can be so childlike.
Yes.
And he is especially manipulative, conniving, hysterical, just all over the place. And, you know, he will literally do anything for his benefit. And it's just a ride, really, just to watch his character not even grow, but just exist over the 2 seasons and just get crazier and crazier. So
brilliant. So for a top three here, obviously we have Otis and Pig. You know, and honorable mentions you have like Bessie and
Snotty
Nathan
Boy.
and Snotty Boy and Mrs. Beatty. So many great picks, but so Pig and Otis are 1 and 2 respectively. However you want to sort it out, and then honestly, like I picked Farmer Buyer, but Freddie was my other 3 in the running there. So I'm very okay with going with your list overall there.
Okay. Great.
Then order. Do you have any preference here?
I mean, Freddie would be a bottom.
Yeah,
you know.
Freddie's 3. Freddie's 3.
I mean, I'd advocate for Otis as number 1, but I wouldn't be mad if it was Pig either. So if you want to exercise your,
I'm going to take the miasma push here. I'm gonna put Pig at number 1 here, just because again, there's so much greatness that came from that character that it's. I can't. I have so many clips on my Snapchat memories of just that I had to just film of Pig one-liners or great shots of Pig that are just so great. I still laugh at when they come back up. So we'll go Pig at number 1, Otis at number 2, and Freddie at number 3. That's a great list in my book, but
I agree.
The key here is if you have not watched this show, or if you haven't watched it since you were a child or whatever, I recommend you go back and watch this just open-minded into just having some fun with a off-the-walls animated series, and you're going to have a good time. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I can guarantee you that. We really had such a ball. Unfortunately, it's really only available on Amazon Prime if you purchase the show. It's not even on streaming. So obviously I did purchase them. That's why we watched them, and I have no regrets. But yeah, especially season 2. Season 2 really is just, again, the freedom yielded phenomenal, hysterical content that I hold very highly now. I wish I could own this on Blu-ray or DVD just to have it physical.
Yeah,
but
would be great.
yeah. But that said, that's our little back in the barnyard breakdown there for you. So if you liked what you heard here and you want to hear more from myself and Austin at different points about different television or music or film or wrestling or whatever it may be, hit subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff. Austin, thanks for joining me and talking about this show, which again is underrated, of course, and it needs to be recognized. And so, with that said, if you want to keep hearing more from the inside mind of the miasma, stay tuned here, and you heard it from the miasma.